Welcome to the DearCC EV10, a truly unremarkable car. One you've never heard about and one you will almost immediately forget. That's a wrap. Come help me. We're used to hearing about new EVs that push the boat out. Some kind of funky styling like the Honda E and its retro 80s hot hatch style. Or some edgy technological innovation like the new Tesla Model S Plaid with its tri-motor arrangement, dropping its already seriously quick acceleration to a ridiculous sub 2 seconds. Or sometimes something completely left field, like the Renault Twizy and its optional doors and single line seating layout. But sometimes, and maybe not often enough, none of that happens, and you're left with the epitome of basic motoring, the bare bones, the truly unremarkable. And in today's day and age, I think that's actually something quite rare and special. The DearCC EV10 came out in 2017. It cost just under $20,000 and after government incentives was around $8,800. Now it has a 21 kilowatt hour battery and does a range of about 155 kilometers, which is just under 100 miles. In 2019, DearCC introduces an updated model to this called the EV10 Pro 300, which, as you guess, has 300 kilometers of range or around 185 miles. Now, the list price for the EV10 300 Pro reduced to $17,000, but government incentives over the time have also reduced. So the price now with government incentives hovers around $10,000. Now, there are some updates to the 2019 model over the 2017 EV10. But what do you get for a sub 10K Supermini city car? Let's find out. The DearCC EV10 isn't blazing any trails with its modest electric power plant. It pushes out just 57 metric horsepower and 150 newton meters of torque. And of course, that drives its dinky front wheels. Now, the only acceleration figures that I could find was 0 to 50 kilometers an hour, which takes 5.9 seconds. If you wanted to do a 0 to 100 kilometer an hour sprint in this car, well, you'd be going 0 to this little beast top speed. Now, up here under the front, you'll find the charge points, which is quite usual for a lot of EV cars. Now, you'll find two, a DC fast charge and an AC slow charge. Now, this car, the EV10, will fast charge from 20 to 80% in around 50 minutes. Not lightning quick, but this is not a very expensive car. Now, if you choose to do a slow charge, then it will take you around 6 hours to get the battery full. If you buy the uprated EV10 Pro 300 model, it doesn't do a better job. In fact, in order to get the doubled range, they just doubled the battery size. So if you plug it in overnight for a slow charge, it's going to take 12 hours instead of 6. Now, the EV10 comes with these absolutely tiny 15-inch steel rims. From the factory, they come clad with a plastic hubcap. However, that is until you inevitably lose them. Now, if you get the top of the spec model, they'll give you some nice little alloys to show off that you paid a little more. The wheels are wrapped in 185/55 tyres all the way around, and that thick sidewall really helps the ride. Suspension is pretty standard. McPherson struts in the front and trailing arm in the rear. Now, you do have disc brakes up front, but only drums in the rear. And no, if you spec the top model, you do not get rear disc brakes. What you do get, however, is ABS and EBD. That's right. In the base model of the EV10, there is no ABS, keeping it pure. To be honest with you, thinking about it, less than 60 horsepower, steel wheels, and no ABS. It's starting to sound like my 1995 turquoise Nissan Micra. Now, the EV10 weighs about 1,030 kilos, and the updated EV10 Pro 300 weighs 1,120 kilos thanks to its double-sized battery. Pretty light for a car nowadays, but then again, this car is pretty small. Now, although this is a 5-door, 5-seat car, it is tiny. I mean, look at it. It's only 3.7 meters long and the wheelbase is only 2.4 meters. That's smaller than a Smart 4.4. Now, you ain't getting 3 rugby lads in the back of this. And if you are, you ain't going anywhere fast. And you definitely ain't stopping without sliding into a bush. Right, let's walk around the DearCC EV10. Now these headlights, they are halogen bulb headlights, both high and low beams, so they are quite dim. In the middle is this gloss black panel with the DearCC logo embossed in metal, which is a nice touch. And underneath this flap is where you'll find the charge points for this car. Now down in the lower of the bumper, you'll find space for fog lights if you have the uprated model, and kind of this plastic chrome trim in the lower of the model. Now, as you move around the side of the car, you'll see in the wing mirrors there are integrated indicators, and then it's not such a chrome belt line, but a chrome framing that goes all the way over the top of the windows. It comes down here and has another DearCC logo embossed in metal. Now, up at the top, you've got this kind of sporty spoiler. I don't think it does anything for downforce. In the middle, you have a third brake light. And as you come down, you have some more badging, your rear fog light down here, and also your reversing light. And right at the bottom, you have this silver plastic diffuser. The DearCC EV10 is a pretty basic interior. It does have a few surprising features though. The base model comes with one touch up and down windows all the way around, which is a nice feature on a cheap car. Now, there is a switch to lock the rear windows so your kids can't play with them endlessly, driving you mad. However, on the base model, there are no rear door child locks. So while you might be able to stop your kid from playing with the windows, they can still exit at free will on the motorway. The infotainment system in the EV10 is like being teleported back to the early 2000s. There's no screen in the base model. You'll have to buy the top spec in order to get a small touch screen. Now, there's no Bluetooth on the base spec either. You'll have to make do with a USB connection. I originally thought there was a CD in here, great for those of us who have a CD collection. However, on further inspection, there is no CD player here. Behind the flat bottom steering wheel is where you'll find the speedometer and other information about the EV, since there is no central screen to give you that information. It's not customizable, it's just an LED light panel, but it is bright enough that you can see it quite clearly when you're driving. There's things on there like the range left, whether you're in neutral, drive or reverse, your trip meter and your odometer, and that's about it. Now down the bottom here in the center console, there's a rotary dial that has reverse, neutral and drive. You'll notice I didn't say park. That's because this has a manual handbrake, which is something of a unicorn in today's modern car world. There's no reversing camera in this base model, obviously, because there is no screen. However, if you do get the top spec, then you do get a reversing camera and rear parking sensors. Now, the cabin is finished in this kind of gloss white and gloss black trim. Now, it is kind of cheap plastic, but it looks quite smart and quite minimalistic. One of my favorite features up on the dash, though, is this little pocket up by the driver here, where you can pop your phone in and see your navigation as you're driving along. It's a nice little surprising feature, and I think it would be nice if more cars had it. Now, this is another cool feature of this car. It's window wipers. They squirt the water directly out of the wipers themselves. To be honest, the wipers are pretty shocking, but it is a cool little invention. The one-piece front seats are actually quite comfortable. They've got a small bolster and this sporty contrast stitching. The back has 2 seats. I made a mistake earlier when I said this was a 5-seat car. It's actually only 4 seats. You'll probably squeeze another person in the middle if you're a sadomasochist. Surprisingly, with only 2 in the back, the knee room is not bad for such a small car. Where's my phone? Don't tell me it's inside the car. Now, just a quick message for those eagle-eyed viewers of you. You might have noticed that it's now dark, and that is because halfway through filming this, when we were filming the outside, I left my phone inside the car, and the car self-locked itself. A bit of a debacle to get back in. But we're back in now, and we're going to finish the review. Now, this car is low powered, but it weighs only a smidge over a ton, and being electric, you get its full 150 Newton meters of torque all at once. It's quite nippy up to about 25 miles an hour, but anything more than that, it really starts to be a bit sluggish. Now, the 55 sidewall really helps the ride on these unbroken roads. It doesn't ride beautifully, but it doesn't ride badly at all, to be fair. It's not, you know, a very luxurious ride, but it's not crashy or uncomfortable in here. So is this car any good? Honestly, I wouldn't buy one, nor would I recommend it to anyone. But then again, I can't ever recall seeing a privately owned EV10 on the road. As a shared rental car, it makes more sense. Inside the city, the small range isn't a problem, and as a quick gap ride through the city, its lack of features don't really matter. I mean, we don't complain too loudly when a bus doesn't have a full leather interior or high quality fit and finish. It's just a mode of transport, and as such, it does its job just fine. In fact, because it's a bit rubbish, the rent prices are much lower. It's a tool. A hammer's a hammer. Sure, your hammer could have a Wi-Fi hotspot and higher quality of materials, but at the end of the day, you're using it for a single mundane task, to hit that goddamn nail. It's just a short A to B travel machine, and it's cheap-ish. I do think that the EV market would be better served if more low-cost basic EVs were produced, as not everybody wants, cares, or has the cash for a Tesla. Some people just want a beater, and this is almost certainly a beater, an EV beater with a manual handbrake that can do cheeky handbrake turns. It's got to be worth something to somebody, right?